All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome, and thank you guys for being here as always. Happy Monday to everyone, by the way. Hope you guys had a great weekend. I know the weekends are getting to be nicer now for us here in Philly. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm getting a feedback.
Yeah, what's going on? Is that echo?
It's my bad. I turned it down already.
All right. So yeah, hope you guys had a great weekend. It's Monday. We know how Mondays can be. Like you want to hit the ground running. So hope you guys hit the ground running and off to a productive week. A lot of things going on in the news. We're living in some very interesting times. But look, we're going to keep our head above water and keep doing what we do. Okay, we cannot control what goes on out there in the ether, but we can control what we're doing for ourselves and our business and our family.
That's right.
Once again, welcome, Mr. Jingao is here with us today.
Hello.
We have Mr. Jason Wong as always, and James in the background. So the band is back together. The band is
Good
back
evening.
Excited to be here.
Yes. So we have a few topics to talk about, but is there anything you guys want to talk about before we jump into topics? Any
No, just jump right in. All those topics are very interesting, and
nice.
All right, share some about that.
So the first topic we're going to talk about today, JPMorgan Chase came out with an article and said that, from their perspective, the fact that Bitcoin, withstood this crash that happened in March proves to them that Bitcoin is sustainable and is here to stay. And I'm happy to see that because I remember most of us remember JPMorgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon not too long ago was saying that Bitcoin is a fraud and only criminals use it. And if you catch anyone using Bitcoin at work, someone's going to fire them. Even though at the same time, his guys in Europe was trading Bitcoin and buying Bitcoin. And then after that, they came up with their own JPMorgan coin. And now they're helping, Coinbase and Gemini to do the banking. So what I like about this entire article is the fact that Bitcoin is bringing these people to their knees, whether they like it or not, right? And, we all talk about Bitcoin is here to stay. It's not going to go away. So to see people like JPMorgan and, Jamie Dimon coming around to the fact that, yes, Bitcoin is here to stay. It's going to change everything. I'm just happy to see that. What do you guys think about that?
Well, yeah, not too long ago. Well, in cryptocurrency, this is about, I think, 3 years ago that he said that about Bitcoin. And in cryptocurrency world, actually, 2-3 years is a pretty long time. So we'll give him some time to change. But you're right. Even when he came out with that saying Bitcoin's a scam, Bitcoin's a fraud. And behind it, in the back of his mind, he's already thinking about how to take advantage of it, how to take advantage of cryptocurrency. That's how the JPMorgan coin came out so quickly, obviously. And now, they are taking advantage of it. They have two of the biggest crypto players in the market that are their clients. Right now, the next one is obviously Goldman Sachs. Right, Goldman Sachs will be the one that's going to come around sooner or later. And they're probably doing the same thing right now. They'll probably talking bad about it, and get more positions, get into positions of more Bitcoin or more cryptocurrency. And then later they're going to come back again. Let's go have our Goldman Sachs coin. But interesting about this article that JPMorgan just published. One, about the staying power of Bitcoin. And something we talk about all the time as miners, for Bitcoin miners. We always talked about how for Bitcoin mining, it has to be profitable. It has to be profitable for Bitcoin mining for us, or else there's no Bitcoin, right? So in that article, what they call the intrinsic value, right, of the cost of mining these Bitcoin. He said even during the pandemic, even during the crash in March, right, when it really dropped to like $4,000 some dollars. So even that time, it only dipped below the cost, right, of mining the Bitcoin a couple times. That's it. So it really dipped, even during a time like that. Right. So that proves that article really proves, yes, the survival of Bitcoin and what we're doing as miners. What we're doing as miners. which means over 95% of the time you have to be profitable, right? For this to continue.
For it to work, yeah.
Right. Of course, once in a while, yes, there will be volatilities where there's a dip, it might dip below it, but it's not going to stay there for long. If it stays there for long, then there is no network, right? So very good article.
Yeah. What say you,
So
Mr.
glad
Wong?
that I'm so glad that they're coming around, you know, besides all that trash talk that he started in 2017, you know, Bitcoin's a fraud, it's going to blow up, you know, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, bankers, if they smell money or opportunity, they'll be the first one to move. And it proves it in this case, right? Obviously, bankers are a little bit more conservative. And so to me, it's actually a great comforting to know that finally these bankers are behind the Bitcoin movement. And just a little bit of a advertisement, okay? Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing a little bit of a training on the adoption rate of Bitcoin. So it's kind of like we related to what we're talking about tonight over here. So when the banks started getting behind it, you know, we know we're onto something right? I'm so glad that all of you out there are one of the first movers. So which puts us in a great position. So congratulations, guys.
Absolutely. You know, it's interesting the way these banks operate. They operate on the premise of, you know, with us, when you look at these banks, they will tell you one thing while they're doing something else. So for like, you know, Chase and guys like Jamie Dimon, while, just like Jim was saying earlier, while they're talking bad about Bitcoin, you know, it's a fraud or whatever, at the same time, they are getting their position. They're taking their position to Bitcoin. And I think, I do believe that you're right when it comes to Goldman Sachs, because they just put out a report to their clients, you know, with all these different things. They have like 5 or 6 different bullet points as to why their clients shouldn't get involved with Bitcoin, right?
Right.
But I guarantee you, like you said, in the back end, they are taking up their position. And in a few months down the road, don't be surprised if they come out and, you know, and start talking positive. But they have to talk it down to keep the price at a certain level so they can get in at a good price, right? And keep buying up and keep getting a bigger position. But don't ever listen to what these bankers are saying. Watch what they're doing. Don't listen to what they're saying, because most of the time when they're saying certain things, they're doing the exact opposite.
Right.
And these,
watch the action as opposed to what they try to say. I totally agree with that, Darsham. That's a great point.
Absolutely.
You know, to illustrate another point of that, right? I mean, if I don't know if all of you guys have watched this movie called The Big Short. Back in 2008, banks who put together these very creative mortgage-backed securities, right? And then when they package them, they sell it to the general public. At the same time, they're betting against their own, you know, bonds that they put together. All these securities that they put together, they're betting against it, just so that they can draw another fees out of it, right? So,
right,
you know, bankers are there to make money, all right? So, you know, if they see an opportunity, smell an opportunity, which they do in Bitcoins, they're going to go behind it. They're behind it. They're going to move in. So guys, we are in a great position, I believe, personally. So go out there and tell all your friends and family about it.
Right.
Go ahead, Mr. Gao.
These banks, they are right. They're bankers. You know, these guys make tons of money, right? The unfortunate, of course, these guys are obviously pretty smart, right? The unfortunate part is, wait, what is that?
Just that thing. It's that chat.
Oh, okay. So the unfortunate part is the average people is not, right? The average people were not bankers, right? So yeah, it's really there are early adopters like us, right, that believe in Bitcoin and knows the value of cryptocurrency. But there are so many people that don't.
Yeah.
Right? And that's why we're the early adopters. So that's Jason, I'm looking forward to your training tomorrow, and that's what we need to do. We really need to go out there and spread the word, right? To educate the public, to educate the people, so they can benefit, and the whole free market of cryptocurrency can be better. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so we have an article coming up. Matter of fact, let's skip to the third article real quick, James, since it ties into what Jason just said and what Mr. Gao just said also, the new 1%. So what they're realizing that right now, if you own 0.1 Bitcoin, you are now the new 1%, right? You know how a lot of times, we always talk about the 1%, the upper echelon of society, the rich, the well-to-do and whatnot. But with the invention of Bitcoin, and for those early adopters like us who are involved with Bitcoin right now, we are the new 1%. So if you have 0.1 Bitcoin right now in your wallet, you are becoming the new 1% class in our society. So that's something to be proud of, and also something to really appreciate. Don't take what we do for granted, guys. I know that, the way things are set up with our company is super easy to be involved, but do not take it for granted, right? Just imagine, in a few years from now, yes, you definitely will be the new 1% with a whole different class of wealth that's going to be bestowed upon us. So that's an awesome thing, man. So yes, you are becoming the new 1%. I'm proud of it. Absolutely. Right. But do good things though.
Actually, almost all of our members would be that 1%. Right? Other than, of course, you have the bronze that might take a pretty long time. You have a bronze package, but almost, I would say 90%, 95% of all our members will be that 1%. All right, will be that 1%, that elite, that 1%. All right. What's even more exciting is the people owning one whole Bitcoin.
Oh yeah,
right? You'll be really the elite of the elite.
The point of the 1%. You're gonna be the 1% of the 1%. That's gonna be sweet.
All right.
What do you think, Jason?
I'm trying to do my math as in what percentile I'll be in. It's just the math turns out to be too long. So I am good. I am good with being that top 1%. So I'm good with that.
You're gonna be the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of the 1%.
I'm good with just being the top 1%, so that we're all in the same new club. And for every financial crisis that comes with wealth reshuffling, just like the 2008 and many before that. There's no different in this particular crisis. There's going to be a lot of traditional wealth that's going to be reshuffled and redistributed at the end of the pandemic, when we get over this pandemic, hopefully in the next couple of months or to a year. So the opportunity is here, right? And we need to take advantage of it. Don't stand by and do nothing, because opportunity will blow you right by, and then you're gonna look back and wonder why your life hasn't changed, right? Or why many of your peers, right, have moved up or moved to a better place financially, and you're still in that same old place. So let your friends and family know, right?
No, that's very true, Jason. Like, you don't want to keep this to yourself. So one of the best things you can do, you know what they say? They say it's always lonely at the top, right? So you don't want to get to the top and your friends and family aren't there with you. And so one of the ways to make sure that you bring your family and friends to the top with you is to share what we do with them, get them involved, right? That's a sure way to make sure that they also become a part of the 1%. Because
right.
there is a shift taking place in our economic structure for sure. It's just a matter of which side are you going to be on when it's all over and done with. And Bitcoin is going to play a huge role in that shift. And so if you're involved with us right now and you're mining and you have, more than 0.1 Bitcoin, and so you are establishing yourself as a new 1%, where are your friends and family? Are they there with you? And if they're not, then it's time that you start reaching out to them in a serious way and let them understand what's going on.
That's right.
Right? It's very, very important, guys. So I hope you all are doing that.
All right.
All right, keep it going. The next topic I want to talk about is, so we talked about this company, Grayscale, before. And Grayscale is a fund that help their clients to take a position in Bitcoin in large amount, like millions and tens of millions of dollars, right? And so for a very long time, they were kind of the only one that were a true fund that catered only to Bitcoin for their clients. So a new company just came out. They just got their license to actually start to do the same thing as Grayscale. So when I saw that, that tells me that there's a healthy appetite out there for wealthy clients to acquire Bitcoin. Because these companies, they will not get involved or set themselves up and go through the trouble of getting licensed and all that stuff if the demand is not there. So the fact that this company has now established themselves and is now competing with Grayscale for those upper echelon clients, that tells me that the demand is there, and that's why they're doing this. And it's another example. And I know sometimes, especially for our new members, we get on board with us and maybe the price may dip a little bit and you start to get, you worry. No, these are examples to show you that what you're doing, what we're doing is here to stay for the long run. And when you see companies like this establishing themselves for the upper echelon of society, that tells you that you are in the right game. Right, Mr. Wong?
That is absolutely correct because, imagine, us as the average, folks trying to compete with these high net worth or ultra high net worth clients that they have, that they cater to, right? If they decide to put not even 1%, let's just say 1/10 of 1% of their investable, wealth into Bitcoins, we are going to be competing with those ultra, high net worth people. So what I'm trying to say is, right, get in while you have the opportunity, because don't worry about the price fluctuations that are going up and down, because as the price goes down, when we have shown that over and over again, right, the Bitcoin mining difficulty goes down as well. So in return, you're going to be mining more Bitcoins, which is better for you in the accumulation phase. So get in while you can right now and to me, it's a really good price to get in right now, and really good opportunity because we offer some of the lowest electricity costs around the world for Bitcoin mining purposes. So don't wait until Bitcoin hits $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 per Bitcoin. Get in now. Now is the best time. Right.
And Grayscale actually came out. Grayscale I think came out a couple of years ago or last year. And that become so big that actually last month they purchased all the. I think they purchased more.
Yeah.
Than what the Bitcoin was mined.
150%, Jim.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So they have grown in popularity, but they obviously they have so much money. They raise so much money from the investors, right, to be able to do that. And one of the reasons I believe why all these investors are putting money in there, of course, besides the popularity of Bitcoin, and when they started, at the time when they started, actually, it's pretty hard for an average person to know about Bitcoin, to get into Bitcoin, to buy Bitcoin. All right, right. What are you to do? Right, you have to obviously you have to get your wallet. A lot of people don't even know what wallet was. Even now, when you talk to a lot of people still don't know. Oh, I need a Bitcoin wallet. I need to go to a Bitcoin exchange. I need to set this up, right? So it's still pretty complicated. But over the year, and we have companies like us that's really make it a lot easier for people to get into Bitcoin, right? You got Coinbase that's getting easier. Initially, when Coinbase first set up, it was really, really tough to sign up an account, to put money into your account, and then to buy cryptocurrency. Yes, now it's quicker. I remember I have so many people that couldn't even sign up an account last year. But even now, a lot of members are still having problems with Coinbase to sign up, and how long it takes to get the whole account set up.
KYC and all that. Yeah.
Right. So it's still pretty complicated and it's pretty intimidated still. Right. So, but companies like us really is making it a lot easier for people. Right. So you got these on-ramp companies that make it easy for people. Yes, there are more demand. We'll get the mass adoption. That will really come. Right, when it's fun to get involved.
Yeah,
it's not like a test or a challenge to get into Bitcoin. Right, so I'm excited to see where we're going. And now they have another competitors coming in. So obviously, there's demand for
demand.
it.
Absolutely, demand is there, 100%. And one of the things when it comes to investing, they say you always want to do what the smart guys in the room are doing, right? And it's important for us to take our cue from these wealthy people. And I always say it, when we see these wealthy, individuals, the Wall Street hedge funds, when those guys are getting into Bitcoin, you know that this is something that's going to really make a lot of noise. And so it's important for us to get involved now and don't wait, because why get involved when the price is at 20, 25, 30,000, right? You're putting yourself at a disadvantage. So what we do is mining, and absolutely you can always get involved with mining, but don't you want to mine now? So when the price goes up, you have some gain based on what you're mining, right? It's really that simple. But the point is this: the fact that these large endowment, these large companies, these funds that's gobbling up all the Bitcoin. I mean, think about it. Grayscale purchased the equivalent of the 150% of Bitcoin that was mined last month. That's huge. So it also solidified that you are absolutely doing the right thing. For those of our members right now, you're absolutely in the right game. And with being in the right game, it also comes with some responsibility. You have to earn it, right? You have to earn it. And that brings us to our next topic coming up with the markets and COVID-19. So the markets took a plunge on Friday because reports came out that we're seeing more spikes in numbers in COVID-19, right? The pandemic. And so Friday, when that news came out, the market took a dump. And certainly, whenever the market dumps like that, it's going to bring Bitcoin with it. It's just how it is, because what happened is when people hear those news, they start to liquefy their position. They start to go into cash. They start going to safety. And unfortunately, they will also sell their Bitcoin and go into cash for a period of time, because the human mind right now in our society, they see cash as the ultimate safe haven. At least for a quick thing. Like when you liquidate your funds, the first thing to do is go into cash. Then once you're in cash, then you can survey the landscape and see what's going on, and then you can redistribute your cash that you win. So yes, when the market plunges like this, you will see the Bitcoin price go down. But the thing is, you cannot lose faith just because the market goes down, the Bitcoin price goes down with it, right? And so, I was talking to Mr. Gao this morning, if we start to see more and more cases of COVID-19 spiking again, will they shut the economy down again? I don't want to say they won't, but I hope they don't, because I don't know if the economy can withstand another shutdown for 2 more months or 3 more months. That'd be devastating. But the fact of the matter is, we are seeing more cases.
Right.
We are seeing some spikes around the country, and this may lead to some drastic measures being taken by our authorities. So we see where they go. What do you guys think about all that?
A couple of things. One, James, if you can pull up my article about the market end up closing up today, the Yahoo Finance article about the stock market actually rise today. So the article you see previously from Gershon was the futures in the morning. That article came out in the morning. Actually, even probably last night. Or so Friday, yes, the market crashed because a couple of things: the Fed's comments, and of course the rise of new cases, the COVID cases, and then even past to Sunday, and then you see the futures. It's a Sunday night to Monday morning. The futures was also down, and it came all the way down until the whole time was down until the Fed stepped up again. The Fed came out and say, I'm going to buy all the corporate bonds, right?
Corporate bonds, yep.
Right. So the Fed's pretty much saying, hey, I'm not going to let the market fail, right?
Right.
If the market crash, I'm going to throw in more money. I'm going to put more money. Now it's failing. Now it's going down again. Okay, I'm going to buy up more bonds. I'll buy up bonds from corporate if needed, right? So, we're just talking about really how efficient this market is or isn't, right? Yeah, you really have the Fed, the government manipulating and playing games with the market, right? Whenever it goes down, all right, let's put more money, right? Let's give more money away. The economy is down, okay, let's give these guys more money. Market is down, let's buy it up. So, and that's why also the stock market, the New York Stock Exchange, they have circuit breakers, right? If it goes down a certain amount, they stop the market. And all right, let's everyone take a break, and then maybe not really soon, right? So, and that's what's so great about crypto. And crypto is still up there, and there's no circuit breaker. There's no Fed. There's no someone to say, oh, if it goes down, I'll buy it up. Right, that is really pure capitalism, pure efficiency in market. Right? Of course, it's still new. There's still some improvement that needs to be made, but it's as pure as it comes. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and you and I talked about this earlier. When it comes to the traditional market, there is no market. There is no market because there's not, buyers and sellers like you and I in the market buying and selling, or even big institution, right?
Right.
So we don't have a market anymore. The Fed is the market. So the market cannot come to a true price discovery because every time the market falls, the Fed step in and buy it up. So there's no true price discovery in the market anymore. So we no longer have a market. Now, the question is, how long can they keep it up? That is the question. Because like I said to you, Mr. Gao, earlier, I believe there will come a time when the market will overpower the Fed. I believe that. Now, it may not be tomorrow, it may not be next week, but that time will come when the market will overpower the Fed. But right now, as far as I'm concerned, we don't have a market. The Fed is the market. What say you, Mr. Wang?
I agree. Actually, the U.S. Fed is not the only central banks that are doing that.
Good point.
China's doing that. We see that China's market and Hong Kong indexes have gone down, and immediately their equivalent of the Fed, so their equivalent of the central bank steps in and start to stabilize the market. So it is not a unique phenomenon in the US. It's just that we have a much, much, much deeper pocket compared to them. Okay. But I want to actually jump in quickly to your point earlier, Gershom, about, that we know that we're seeing spike on COVID-19 cases on some of the states that had been opening up, in the last couple of weeks, Arizona being one of them, Florida, Ohio, I think. And you were asking, are we going to close down again, right? To try to patch the new wounds, so to speak, right? I don't think that would be the solution. And I'm hoping that, our government would take maybe a page out of, countries like Korea or Taiwan that are doing a phenomenal job in containing these new cases. Even Beijing actually just had a spike a couple of days ago. So the next 3 days is super critical for the city of Beijing. But what they're doing, right? And I want to hear from our audience tonight. What do you think? They are utilizing phone tracking apps, which we have right now. Google and Apple have developed these apps now. They're ready to be used, right? So what they can do with these apps, as soon as an infected person is identified, they can quickly, circle in to the people, to the areas of the infected person. And that makes the population that they have to test much, much more manageable, right? So I want to hear from the audience. I mean, what do you guys think of if our government start utilizing these technologies? Do you think it's going to be an issue if we temporarily open up, our or trade our, liberty or inconvenience for this, short-term inconvenience for this long-term benefit, so to speak, right? I mean, I'm really curious about what our audience are thinking.
That's a very good question. That's a very good question, because the thing is trust.
Can we trust our government? That's the question.
And that's what it's going to come down to. Can we? And right now, people are so skeptical of the government, rightfully or wrongfully. But the fact of the matter is, people are skeptical of the government, and and we've been talking about these things forever now. As far as the government encroaching on our liberties, and just like I said, are we willing to give up our liberties for some security?
Right.
So that's a good question, man. I don't know.
Well, we're seeing some responses. Marie, I mean, she's from North Dakota. She's for initiating these tracing apps, right? So thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. I want to hear more of you guys and let me know what you guys think, because eventually it might come down to a ballot question, actually, and it might be enacted state by state or city by city, right?
I can say, I can tell you that most likely the majority of the people would not like this. The majority of people would be against it. Giving data to the government, they haven't been able to track us. Unfortunately, I would have to say, they were against it. As for me, I'm not too crazy either, right? And that's why you have countries like China and maybe North Korea that doesn't have a single case. Okay, North Korea doesn't have one single case. Right?
Well, North Korea is not a concern because they don't have anybody infected with COVID-19. So we're talking about South Korea that is doing such a phenomenal job, that are using these tracing apps. North Korea, we're not worried about. They have zero cases.
Well, the reason why
no one goes there.
Well, the reason why
no one goes to North Korea.
it doesn't have any cases, okay? It's because of the control of the government has on the people.
And no one goes to North Korea.
And China's number, right or not, are those numbers deflated or fake numbers that they're making? If they were real numbers, same thing. They have more control over their people, right? And they're not
For
like
sure.
Our culture is so different.
It's a lot different,
Yeah.
and I think also this plays right in the hands of the people who we tend to label conspiracy theorists, right? Because there have been people out there saying, and this is not me saying this, so don't jump down my throat. But there are people saying that I'm just saying that the entire COVID-19, and you hear this word like pandemic or scamdemic, right? I've heard those terms, right? That this whole COVID-19 thing was maybe a plan, right, to implement these tracing apps so they can start tracking people. And you can equate it to when 9/11 happened. Right after 9/11 happened, the government came out with the Patriot Act. And many people aren't happy about that, right? Because a lot of our liberties were taken away when the Patriot Act came out, and people are not happy about it. And so those same people are saying, here we go again, another crisis or event where now the government's going to come in with all these different things to take away more of our liberties. So I think you're going to see a serious pushback on that. Obviously, some people will be for it, but I think you're going to see a lot of people who won't want to go down that road, because once you open up that box, where does it stop?
So here's the trade-off. If we don't have this sort of protocols ready, the trade-off would be what we just did 3 months ago, right? If we start seeing cases again, we have to shut everything down. Now, I was just looking it up. This just came out an hour ago. Beijing dispatches 100,000 community workers to trace down these new COVID-19 outbreaks. Now, they have up until yesterday, 79 new cases, okay? And they're saying the next 3 days is going to be super critical, because out of the 79 new cases that are confirmed, there could be thousands that have not been tested yet, and that are infected, that are out there, that are infecting people, right? So they're dispatching, this is no joke. 79 confirmed cases, they dispatch 100,000 people out there knocking on doors of residents and to get them tested. Now, it's only possible because of these to reduce the size of the I guess the pool that they have to knock on, the doors that they have to knock on, because of these tracing apps. Otherwise, they have to shut the entire Capitol down.
You know what? This kind of brings up another point I was thinking about the past few days in terms of the monetary policies that we're seeing put in place right now, right? So, countries like China, other countries, because they're doing the same thing. They're going and buying up the market, right?
Yes, they are.
They have more control because the way the government is structured, they can pretty much do whatever they want. And I think, so with the US and most of the Western nation, when it comes to the monetary policy, at some point, I think we're going to start seeing the Fed get some pushback, because the way our system is set up, you can't just do what you want. You can't just print all this money. So I think right now, people are kind of like okay with it, maybe looking sideways. But eventually, when the entire effect of how they're debasing the monetary, the dollar and all that, I think you're going to start seeing some pushback, because the Fed here doesn't have the autonomy as their counterpart does in place like China and stuff like that. So I was thinking about that. Like at some point, we're going to start some pushback, because say, for example, in Germany. So Germany is having some issues right now the Italians are asking for a bailout, right, from the euro, but the German government is the one that really fund the euro. I mean, they're the bulk of it, but their economy is in recession. So how is it that they are going to bail out Italy when their people are being homeless, out of work, and being on the street? There's some serious stuff coming down the pike financially, and it's not just, you're right, it's not just here, it's not isolated. This is a global problem with this monetary system. And that's why I believe that it's not just the US dollars, it's the fiat monetary system that's in trouble.
Yeah, these like we talked about, how much can they do? How much can federal governments do? Not just our government, but other countries' government. But also back to that app tracing program. Yes, especially with today's environment, what's going on, there's no way people will be comfortable giving their information or tracking information to the government unless this COVID-19 gets really, really bad. Right, and what were you describing earlier, Jason, about how the community worker dispatched 100,000 community workers knocking on the neighbor's door?
Can you see that?
That is kind of scary. That is very scary. That reminds me of what my parents told me back in when the communists took over, when the Chinese government now took over China. My parents or my mom, a lot of them were landowners, right? So these landowners, all their land was taken and then given out to everybody. And actually, neighbors would tell on each other if they were doing something wrong. Right? If they are bashing the Communist Party, neighbor will tell on neighbor. That's what I mean. Yes, that's a long time ago, and that is maybe a little bit too much. Now this is the modern day, right? A little more modern day, not more about not about re-education, but about quarantine.
Well, it's the same principle, and that's the thing. I mean, where does it stop? And if we allow, let's say for example, everyone's okay, fine. How do we know that they're going to use it just for the coronavirus tracing, right? How do we know that they won't have some database somewhere where they're keeping track of what everyone is doing, who you're talking to, what you're reading? I mean, right now the government they just gave the FBI authority to monitor what you are searching for on the internet without a warrant. So I mean, the FBI can just, with their technology, just log on and see what sites are you going to, what are you searching for, what books are you researching. I think people are going to start pushing back on that because, like they said, those who give up their liberty for security deserve neither. And I think, the more that they come up with these ideas, now, it may be a good idea, trust me, but when it comes to government, people just don't have that trust in government anymore. So I don't see how that's going to happen. It's interesting to see how it's going to play out, though.
Be careful, Gershom. Don't be searching Area 51 and Bitcoin connections, all right? You're gonna get a knock on your door.
I don't want to get that knock on my door.
That would get you at Area 51 and Bitcoin connections.
Hey, but Jason, so let's go back to the what you just said in Beijing. So when they knock on someone's door, right, and you can verify that this person may have come in contact with someone that's positive or whatever, what do? Do they quarantine them in their home? Do they take them to a quarantine? I mean, how does that work?
Well, so in the past, when China was all the provinces were essentially on a lockdown, they are actually in the beginning they were actually dragging people, right, to quarantine, and we all saw these footages. It's crazy. Now and then later on, as the capacity of the hospitals are filling up, they start boarding up your entrance, so you can't get out either. So so Beijing is still kind of like in the beginning stage. 79 people confirmed. Are they dragging you over there, or they just kindly like telling you to go over and get tested? I don't know. The article didn't really talk about that yet, but I'm sure we're going to see that on some of these footages. So
I remember seeing
and I
those
agree
footage.
because if you give government too much authorities, crazy things like that would happen.
Listen,
right?
you give them an inch to take a mile. That's just how government operate.
And you know what? We have the exact saying in Chinese expression. You give an inch, you in English is you get a mile, but
Take a mile, yeah.
It's totally makes sense.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
Interesting times, man. Interesting times. All right. So we head into on a home stretch. So guys, we always bring you these videos. So this is a very short video. It's like maybe 5 or 6 minutes long. And the reason why I want you guys to listen to this lady, okay, I'm gonna tell you guys right now. This lady that you're gonna listen to right now, her name is Lynn Alden. She's one of the smartest economists that I've ever listened to. I follow her on Twitter. And I said before, you guys should really get a Twitter account. That's where things happen, guys. Things happen on Twitter. Everyone is on Twitter. All these multi-billionaires, all these people, they're all on Twitter. So this lady, I follow her on Twitter. She was in an interview a couple of days ago. I saw the interview, and towards the end, the host asked her, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? Do you have a position in Bitcoin? And I thought she gave a pretty interesting answer. And like I said, it's a very short video, maybe 5 or 6 minutes. So James, if you're ready, go ahead and play that video, and then we can talk about it once it's done.
Do you have a position in Bitcoin, Lynn? Do you look at the cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, so since April 2020, I've had a speculative position in Bitcoin, long.
Okay, that's super recent. So yeah, there's a lot of big money turning that way right now. What turned your head? Why did you make that call?
Sure. So I've been aware of the space for years, but I first wrote an article about it in 2017, and that's when we had that pretty big bull run in Bitcoin, right? So I started to get tons of emails from people that, what are your thoughts on Bitcoin? It's kind of like that big euphoric phase. And so at the time, Bitcoin was around a little under 7,000. And so I wrote an article where I kind of analyzed it from a couple different points of view, either as a medium of exchange or as a store of value. And I concluded, I basically had a neutral and slightly bearish outlook on it, where I didn't call it a bubble or anything like that, but I also just wasn't interested in adding to it. I considered it speculative. And then so during the past 2.5 years since that article came out, Bitcoin's had a wild ride. It went all the way up to 20,000, then it fell to under 4,000, then it went back up to, call it 12,000, went back down during this recent early 2020 liquidity sell-off. It went back down really aggressively. And by April, there's a couple factors that started to improve my outlook on Bitcoin, which was one, we had 2.5 years of Bitcoin continuing to maintain strong market share in the cryptocurrency space, right? So instead of the whole, all the coins being diluted, right, we continue to have Bitcoin retain about 2/3 of the market of all cryptocurrencies.
Yeah.
So the network effect, after, it's been over a decade since it's existed, is proving to be very resilient, right? So you're basically, when you're investing in Bitcoin, partially you're investing in the network effect of that protocol, right? So my view of the network effect of that protocol strengthened over the past, 2.5 years since my 2017 article. And then in addition, when you add all of this excess liquidity that's coming online, so you have the Federal Reserve, the ECB, the BOJ, they're all printing aggressively, right? So you have, what I thought was probably going to take several years to happen has been compressed into a year, right? Because of the pandemic. So we have a more aggressive fiscal monetary policy than most people would have guessed last year, right? So when you combine that excess liquidity with good signs of Bitcoin maintaining its network effect, and then, the halving is making supply come online at a slower rate now, there's a pretty good case to make a speculative, investment in Bitcoin. So we entered it around April 2020. It was a little under 7,000, and so far it's done pretty well. But it's a very volatile investment.
Yeah, so you still look at it as a speculation though, right? This is not
Yes.
safe haven asset class by any stretch. Okay. And can I ask how you buy land? Are you allocating your portfolio? Are you allocating tranches, or you establish the position in April and now you're just going to set it and watch?
I did it in 2 tranches. So I established my main position in April. And, if I never bought more from then, I was pretty happy with that position.
Got it.
But then I did add more in June as well. So I'm willing to add kind of smaller tranches if we get dips.
Okay. Okay. Very cool. Okay, Lynn, I'd love to know of a news source that you cannot live without.
I'd have to go with Twitter. Twitter's it comes out faster than pretty much any other news source, and you get basically institutional level research in bits and pieces for free from every different source. So people I agree with, people I disagree with. I have people challenge me, so I can kind of strengthen my views. I see their views. I see breaking news faster than I see it on any other news source. So Twitter has been a phenomenal news source for the financial community.
Awesome, love that. Can you name a book that all of my viewers should read this year?
I'd have to go with Ray Dalio's Big Debt Crisis book.
Very cool.
I believe he came out with it I don't know if it was last year or the year before. And it kind of provides an overview of how long-term debt cycles often come to an end. So it uses historical references and shows kind of on average how they tend to end, both in the U.S. and internationally. So it kind of, if people are curious about how deflationary crises or inflationary crises differ, how come sometimes there's a deflationary crisis, how come sometimes there's an inflationary crisis, that book kind of provides like a lot of detail on that. I found that kind of a useful framework for seeing how these long-term debt cycles and currency devaluations tend to unfold.
Okay, awesome. And are there any personalities, Lynn, that you pay an extra amount of attention to?
Not specifically, but I try to maintain views from all sides, right? So I pay attention to, say, dollar bears, dollar bulls, inflationists, deflationists, mainstream economists, people with alternative views. I try to avoid the echo chamber by just having so many different feelers out there to see what all the different arguments are all over the place.
Got it. Okay, very cool. Now, you've got a lot of great content up at lynnalden.com. But if our subscribers are looking for a bit more, where else can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter at Lynn Alden Contact. That's kind of my most frequent updating platform. LynnAlden.com, I focus on long form research. I also have a free newsletter there that comes out every 6 weeks and has, it's a long form kind of macro newsletter. It also shows a lot of my recent investments or sales.
All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Lynn Alden is someone that's well respected in the field of economics and geopolitical economics, macroeconomics, microeconomics, super smart lady. A lot of people, look to her research to see, what's really going on out there on a global scale. And so I, kind of wanted you guys to hear what she had to say. And as you can see, toward the end of the interview, they ask her, what's her go-to source for information? And what does she say? Twitter. I'm telling you guys, if you guys are not on Twitter, there's so many things that comes out on Twitter from everybody, from, all around the world, from the Queen, the presidents, prime ministers, you name it, they're on Twitter. And that's where the information is coming. So yeah, if you want to keep up with what's going on in the world, not by watching Fox and CNN, but really real time information from researchers, from everybody, Twitter is a place to be. So, all right, that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Yeah, Mr. Wong, anything you took away from the interview?
You know what? I gotta download and create a Twitter account. You get an institutional grade information without having to pay for the institutional price.
I'm telling you,
Right.
That is a major takeaway.
Look, that lady right there, she runs a fund, but she also does institutional grade research, and people go to her for her research and for her information, and vice versa. So, yeah, man, Twitter is it's a rich place for information. I guarantee you.
Mm-hmm. Now, that last thing about about Bitcoin, yes, it's been, cryptocurrency has been out for a while, 11 years, right? And Bitcoin, yes, and it's surprisingly, it's still, or not surprisingly, it's still a dominant player, right? Mm-hmm. It's over 50% of the whole cryptocurrency market. And the recent weeks we see, or the recent months, right? We look at these charts, and we're talking about how Bitcoin goes, the volatility of Bitcoin. But actually, we've been expecting Bitcoin to fluctuate, to go in the price range of between 9 to 10,000, right? And we've been predicting that months and months ago. Right now, it's happening. Even during this pandemic and all these money that are coming into the market, it's still that range. Right, the market falls, market go up. Bitcoin is still around 9 to 10,000. Mm-hmm. So, what they've been predicting, or it's pretty much very much accurate on where. So hopefully, what all these analysts are predicting, where Bitcoin is going to be. Right, so we'll see. I see a very strong case. Most likely, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and one of the things she also said, which caught my ear, was the network effect of Bitcoin. From her point of view, it just keeps getting stronger and stronger. And so as miners, that's the role that we play. We are a part of the network of Bitcoin as Bitcoin miners, right? And so what she's saying is, one of the reasons why they ended up taking a position in Bitcoin in April is because they're realizing that the network effect is getting so much stronger, which proves to them that, hey, this thing Bitcoin is really here to stay, and it's going to have an effect on our financial, whether policies or whatever going forward. So I was kind of impressed to hear her say that.
Right.
All right, guys. So this
great
brings
information.
us to, absolutely awesome. So this brings us to the end of today's live stream. I hope you guys enjoy it. We always try to bring you guys some really good information, and hopefully sometimes some information that you won't hear anywhere else. So if you guys enjoyed it, the next one is going to be Friday, as always, 5:30. Don't forget to join me tonight at 9 o'clock for a compensation webinar. All right. So for those of us, particularly new members, if you want to understand how the compensation structure works, then join me tonight at 9 p.m. for that webinar.
All right.
Any closing words, Mr. Jingao?
Don't forget, we have our Tuesday training webinar too tomorrow, starting at 7:30. All right, and Jason will be doing the training tomorrow. I'll be looking forward to it.
Looking forward to that. I know it's going to be awesome.
All right.
Mr. Wong is a phenomenal trainer, so that's going to be great. Looking forward to that.
All right.
Well, thank you, guys. Right. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. So have a good night, everyone.
You guys have a good night, and I see you guys tonight, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for training. You guys take care. Nice to see you guys as always.
Good night, and stay safe, guys.